Hello and welcome to the day 3 of the Advanced Audit and Assurance Practice to Pass session for March 2019 examination being organized by ACCA Pakistan. I am Kashif Kamran, your tutor. Now, being the third day of this Practice to Pass session, I would be starting on with a very important agenda today, which is ethical, professional, and quality control issues. Now, just before starting on with the day 3 agenda, if I just do a quick recap of the day 1 and of the day 2. Now, since last 2 days of this practice to pass session, on the day 1, I drilled with you a question on audit risk and risk of material misstatement. And the day yesterday, which was the second day, I drilled with you procedures and evidence. And we did a question on evidence yesterday in the session. Now, just to continue on with that practice phase, today we are meeting and today we are discussing ethical, professional, and quality control issues. Now, just like the previous 2 days, I again have chosen the questions on ethical, professional, and quality control issues, which you can see on the left-hand side of the screen under March 2019, different from my previous sessions. Now, if you look at my previous sessions, which are again on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see that many of the questions have been done in the previous webinars. In the March 18 webinar, I did 3 questions, December 13, June 13, and December 15. And that was the day 2 of the March 18 webinar. Then on the day 2 of the June 18 webinar, I did the December 13 and June 13 again. So there was a repetition. Then in the September 18 session, I did 2 new questions, June 17 and June 16. And then in the December 18 session, I did the September 18 exam. So you have plenty of practice if you explore the previous webinars, and you have plenty of papers to see from the previous webinars so that you can be really good on ethical, professional, and quality control issues. Now, to that list of the previous questions, this time I'm adding another 2 questions from December 15 exams, and I'm adding another question December 14 exams. And I have not done them in my prior sessions to practice to pass. And there are 2 home questions, right? One is June 18 and one is June 15, which you will be attempting as your home practice. Now, to start on with ethical, professional, and quality control issues, there are some very good articles which has been written by the AAA examining team, and it is highly encourageable that all of you should read these 2 articles as some very good resource so that you can be really good on the ethics and you can be really good on the quality control side. If you see the first article in front of your screen as a hyperlink, this first article is the part 1, which is on ethics, and the second article is on the quality control. Now that means if you want to be good on ethics, you will read that part 1 article on ethics, the hyperlink is being shared, and then you have to read an article on quality control, and again the link has been shared for that. Now these 2 articles is a knowledge for you, and you cannot afford to skip these 2 articles because they're really very important articles because they've been written by the examining team. So if you want to know the perspective of the examining team and you want to know the dimension of the examining team, that what the examining team expects from you, then you should be reading these 2 articles for sure with the topic ethical, professional, and quality control issues. Now, when I move ahead towards my topic, ethical, professional, and quality control issues, I just want to realize you something. If I take you to the technical articles designated area on the ACCA website, you can see these articles here, right? The very first article is the exam techniques on ethics. And you have to read this article if you want to be really good on exam techniques on ethics. Now, when you go down, You can see different techniques article, the risk article, the accounting issues article, the audit procedures article. So these are all the articles which have been recommended to you over the day one and the day two. Then you come down and right in front of your screen, you can see a new article, which is audit in a specialized industry. This article was published just fortnightly, just 14 days ago, or just like 2 weeks ago. And this is such an important article for students who are appearing for March 2019 exams. Examiner will test it or not test it. That's the secondary issue. But you cannot ignore to miss this article when you're appearing for your exams in March 2019. Now, audit in a specialized industry has a connection with quality control. And that's the reason I will be skimming over this article today in my live session. So when you click this article, audit in a specialized industry, that brings us to the article right here, specialized industry article. Now, Examiner has written this article in the context of quality control and planning, that how you should plan an audit of a specialized industry and how you should assure your quality when you're performing an audit in a specialized industry. So this is a very important article, and I would be skimming over this article on and off throughout my session today, so you realize how important this article is for you to read. This is a very straightforward article. There is no complexity in this article. You can easily read it through. There is no difficult jargons in this article, and everything is very smoothing in this article. So perhaps if you can just spend like 1 hour on this article, would be really beneficial for you. Okay, I'll be coming back to this article uh, because I'm just setting the agenda for my session today. Okay, we'll be coming back to this article, right? Now back to my presentation. So you have two articles, right? The ethics article and the quality control article, and even now the new article, which I just shown you, audit in a specialized industry. Okay, now let's start on with our exercise on ethics. Now, when you look at the ethical issues in the AAA paper, the ethical issues in the AAA paper are to identify the threats to objectivity. Now, this is a very common situation, right? Just like the audit and assurance exam, you get the same situations in advanced audit and assurance exam where you have to identify the threats to objectivity from the case study. And we know the threats, right? The self-review threat, the self-interest threat, the familiarity threat, the advocacy threat, the intimidation threat from within the case study, or to identify issues related to confidentiality. So the question could be on confidentiality. There could be some problems related to confidentiality, or there might be something in the case study which the auditor has to whistleblow, or there might be something in the case study which the auditor needs to inform to a regulator. So you should know the parameters of confidentiality, because at times in the past paper, the questions have been formulated on confidentiality. And the last thing on which you should be good at is something known as conflict of interest. So you should be very good on conflict of interest. You must have seen situations in the past paper which pertains to doing audit of competitors. So if the same firm is doing audit of competitors, then you need to know the safeguards. What safeguards can be applied if you want to do audit of two competitors together? Now, to me, ethics is an easy area because perhaps you have a carry forward effect to ethics coming from the audit and assurance exam. And all of you know the threats to objectivity. All of you know what confidentiality is. And when you whistleblow confidentiality, and all of you know the situation which gives rise to conflict of interest. So to me, students are not bad when they attempt the ethical side of the question, because students are confident and students really identify the threats very effectively from a case study. I've never seen students underperforming on the ethical side. They can really pick the ethics very well. Yes, the drafting is a very big problem, right? Because most of this time, the student identify the threat, but then fails to justify why it is a threat. So perhaps you're good on ethics, you know the definition of ethics from the context of exam paper, but something where you lack in a question on ethics is very important. Now, if we just start the day 3 today and we just focus today on ethical, professional, and quality control issues, and I give equal time to each one of them throughout my 2.5 hour sessions, the first thing where I have to be very critical, ethical issues. Now, what I believe is that students are good in identifying. Students are good in identifying the ethical issue. They can really pick from the case. This is a self-review thread. This is a self-interest thread. This is an advocacy thread. They're good on identifying the ethical issue, but the problem is the problem or the shortcoming or the weakness, the problem or the shortcoming with student where I have to address the lecture today is that students fails to justify why it is an ethical issue or why it is an ethical threat. So you're losing your marks because you cannot just score marks by telling examiner this is an advocacy threat until and unless you tell examiner why it is an advocacy threat. You cannot just score marks by telling examiner this is a self-interest threat unless and until you tell examiner why it is a self-interest threat. So you cannot just score marks by telling examiner this is the threat. That's very unprofessional. So you have to tell examiner this is the threat and why it is a threat. So your success in the AAA exam depends upon when you justify why it is a threat, and that's where the students are weaker at. And I'll be demonstrating that through my practice phase shortly, that how you write the why. So let's address this through the session today. So that's the first problem I will be addressing today in the session, that we are good in identifying, but we are very bad in justifying. Okay, that's one. Okay, now let's go down and see what are professional issues. Okay, that's the second thing. Now that's an area where students are very blur. That's an area where students are very vague. That's an area where students have no proper understanding of exactly what is a professional issue. Let's understand what is the professional issue. If I take you back to my presentation and I look at the bullet number 2, which is on the professional issues, and I just skim through that. Professional issues is within the overall process of audit. So you can find professional issues within the overall process of audit. Right from client acceptance, to the review and finalization stage of audit. So examiner can raise the professional issues at any stage of the audit. The examiner can raise the professional issues at the planning stage. The examiner can raise the professional issues at the stage of gathering evidence. The examiner can raise the professional issues at the stage of review and finalization. So you should know the broadness of the professional issues. The professional issues covers the whole process of the audit. So the professional issues can be at the planning stage. The professional issues can be at the stage of evidence. The professional issues can be at the stage of review and finalization. Includes issues like professional behavior. So professional behavior is part of the professional issue. Professional competence and due care is part of professional issues. Inappropriate client acceptance procedures, inappropriate planning, inadequate or no evidence gathered, wrong allocation of a person to a risky area, or wrong judgments, improper review, and so on and so forth. See how big the definition is of a professional issue. First of all, you should realize as a student that when you look at a professional issue from an exam point of view, the professional issues can be at any stage of the audit, can be at the stage of planning, can be at the stage of gathering evidence, can be at the stage of review and finalization, which is the completion stage of the audit. So they can be at any stage, right? Second, they can be at any stage and they includes. Now, what basically the professional issues include? Now, when you look at the professional issues includes number one, the professional behavior of the auditor. Second, it includes the professional competence of the auditor, professional competence and due care of the auditor. These are two very important professional issues. These are two very important professional issues. And so many times in the past exam papers, we see that there is a lacking of professional behavior or there is a lacking of professional competence. Now, just try to understand something very important here. When we speak of professional behavior, the professional behavior has two definitions. The first definition of the professional behavior is being skeptical. Now, if you're reading a case study, and you believe that the auditor compromised the skepticism, then that is where the auditor has compromised the professional behavior. So professional behavior means that we have to be skeptical. Professional behavior also means that we need to adherence to laws and regulations. Auditor needs to adhere to laws and regulations. So in an exam paper, when you're reading a case and you think that the auditor is not adhering to laws and regulation, that is a professional issue, right? And when you see that the auditor is not skeptical in the case study, then that is another professional issue. So you should know the definition of a professional behavior so that you can link that to the case study and you can find the weaknesses in the case study where the auditor was lacking, in terms of being skeptical, or where the auditor was lacking in terms of adherence to laws and regulations. Secondly, professional competence. Professional competence means your skills. Professional competence means your experience. So your skills and experience. Now, a lot of time, the examiner relates the professional competence with a position. Example, junior. Now, if there is a junior in the exam paper, you will be very critical of the junior because the junior is not a person who has the desired skills and experience. And what if in the exam paper the junior is performing an audit of a risky area? So if there is a junior in the exam paper, you have to be very critical of the role of the junior. And what if the junior is performing the audit of a risky area or of a subjective area, or the junior is calculating defects, or the junior is performing the audit of going concern. Do you believe this is all wrong? Do you believe this is inappropriate, that the junior is working on a risky area? Do you believe junior can work on a risky area? Absolutely no, right? Can a junior work on a risky area? Not at all. Can a junior work on a subjective area? Not at all. Can a junior calculate the defects? No, that's a very complex area. Can a junior perform audit of a going concern? No, that's a very important area. So most of the time, the examiner relates the skills and experience to position. So first thing is the position. Second, at times the examiner puts statements like such. The the firm needs to perform an actuarial valuation, and one of the partner is a qualified actuary. Now see this statement. Now see this statement. So can you see the second situation I wrote just now? The firm needs to perform an actuarial valuation and one of the partner is a qualified actuary. So do we now have competence? Do we now have competence to perform the service? So we need to perform a service of actuarial valuation, which is a very complex service. But the good thing is one of the partner is a qualified actuary. So do we have the desired skills now? And is that really important? So can we perform this service with a better quality? Can we perform this service with a better quality? Because one of the partner is a qualified actuary, right? The second, the firm has got a new audit client. The firm has got a new audit client from the telecom industry. The firm has got a new client from a telecom industry. The audit firm has a separate the audit firm has a separate telecom audit department. Now, is that something positive again? That the firm has got a new client from the telecom industry, and the audit firm has a separate telecom audit department. So, do we have the specialism here? Do we have the specialism? So, can we perform the audit of the telecom industry very good? Can we perform the audit of the telecom industry with quality? So can you see how the examiner vary the situation from being negative to positive? The examiner used the junior, then the examiner used the situation of an actuarial valuation, and then the examiner used the situation of a telecom industry. So can you feel how competence can come in the exam paper? The competence can be favorable in the exam paper, right? And the competence can be negative in the exam paper. So is everyone getting those three bullets? Position of a junior, actuarial valuation versus a qualified actuary, and a separate telecom audit department and a telecom industry. So can you feel the diversity of competence you have in the AAA paper? Now, just imagine if I take you back to the article of the examiner, which is the recent article right in front of your screen. Specialized industry, which the examining team wrote just a couple of weeks ago. What is a specialized industry? Leaving aside what is a specialized industry, you can read that. But can you see the very first consideration the examiner is writing? The very first consideration, if I have to do the audit of a specialized industry, what should I be looking at as the number first factor? If I can get your answers. If I want to do the audit of a specialized industry, what should I be looking at as the number one factor? The competence. And is that really important? Is that really important? Because I am doing an audit of a very special industry, a very complex industry. So should I have a competence of that industry? So see, the examining team is saying the very first thing you should look for is competence. So if I have competence, can I do a quality audit of a specialized industry? Do competence links to quality? Do competence links to quality? So if I am competent, will that boost quality, right? And if I am incompetent, will that compromise the quality? So is there a correlation of competence with quality? So please try to understand that, right? There is a correlation of a competence with quality, right? So let's go back to the word file. So professional competence, right? I need to have professional competence even versus a specialized industry, versus a specialized industry. So that's the recent article. That's the recent article of the examiner, where the examiner thinks that we should have competence versus a specialized industry. So far, we made a very good definition here. Professional competence and professional behavior is part of the professional issues. So you should read the case very carefully to see whether the auditor is skeptical or not. Or you should look at the case to see whether the auditor is adhering to laws and regulations. Okay, now let's do one final exercise here. Then comes the quality control issues, right? Which is number 3. Quality control issues. So, is everyone clear on the ethical issues? The ethical issues means the threats to objectivity, the confidentiality, and the conflict of interest. Is everyone clear on the professional issues? The professional issues broadly means the competence and the behavior. So, is everyone clear on the professional behavior and the professional competence? And then the next thing we are speaking of is a quality control issues. Now, just be quick to my question I am raising to all of you. If there is an ethical issue, or if there is a threat to auditor independence, will it compromise the quality of audit? What's the answer? If there is an ethical issue, like a threat to auditor independence, will it compromise the quality of the audit? Okay, that's good. Yes. Okay, my second question. If the auditor is incompetent, will it compromise the quality? Yes. Okay, that's great. Okay, if the auditor is not skeptical, will it compromise the quality? Perfect. Yes. Okay. If the if there is inadequate planning, if there is inadequate planning, will it compromise the quality? Okay, yes. If the auditor gathers insufficient and inappropriate evidence, will it compromise the quality? Yes, what skeptical means, right? Skeptical means questioning mind. Auditor should be questioning mind. Auditor should be alert. Okay, another question to all of you. If the auditor reduce the sample size, if the auditor reduce the sample size, will it compromise the quality of the audit? Okay, yes. Okay, if there are tight deadlines, if there are tight deadlines, will it compromise the quality? Yes, exactly. Because under the tight deadlines, we will be in a rush, we will be in a panic. Because when there are tight deadlines, we will be in a panic, right? We will be in a hurry, we will be in a rush. That will compromise the quality. Okay, another situation. If there, if the manager was away on holidays, will it compromise the quality of audit? Manager is responsible for the supervision. Manager is responsible for the supervision, right? But if the manager was away on holidays, will it compromise the quality of the audit? Yes, because there is no supervision. Yes, because there is no supervision. Okay, another question. If the manager didn't review the working papers, if the manager didn't review the working papers, will it compromise the quality of the audit? Will it compromise the quality of audit? And the answer is yes. So can you imagine there is a correlation between ethical issues and professional issues? Because I am writing a very important statement here. I want your agreement to this statement. If I write this statement, will you hold this statement as true or false? First see the statement and then tell me, is it a true statement or a false statement? Quality is an output which depends upon ethical and professional issues. Quality is an output which depends upon ethical and professional issues. If if there is a compromisation, if there is a compromisation of ethics or professional, if there is a compromisation of ethics or professional issues or professional matters, it will compromise the quality. Is this true? Can you all understand why the examiner asks you a question where the examiner says evaluate the quality control commenting on the ethical and professional matter? Why does the examiner brings quality to a question of ethics and professional? Because quality relates with ethics, quality relates with professional. So when you see the examiner asking you a question, comment on the quality of the audit, explaining the ethical and professional issues. You must have seen this question has come so many times in the past paper where the requirement of the question says, comment on the quality of the audit, comment on the quality of the audit, comment on the quality of the audit, explaining the ethical and professional issues. So see, can you understand the correlation? Can you understand the correlation? The examiner is saying you have to comment on the quality, but you have to explain the ethical and professional issues. So is there a relationship of an ethical and professional issues with quality? So can you understand the requirement of the exam paper? So examiner says comment on the quality of the audit, but what he wants you to explain, he wants you to explain the ethical and the professional issues. So examiner is not asking you a illogical question. The examiner is asking you a very logical question, because if you understand the correlation, you can understand the requirement of the question. So is everyone clear on that? That if there is a compromisation of ethics, or if there is a compromisation of a professional matter, it would lead to the quality being compromised. So inadequate plannings, uh, inadequate review, inadequate supervision, junior working on critical areas. These are all examples. This is not an exhaustive list. I can keep giving you examples and the session will end. There are so many examples which you can think from the past paper where it's so natural that the quality has been compromised. Yes, exactly, Karan. So the quality is directly proportional to ethics and professionalism. Exactly. So you got it right. You got it right. So is everyone clear on that? Can we move towards the last stage of our discussion and then start on with the practice? Because practice will make that thing very clear, that how I connect quality with ethical and professional issues. So I'll demonstrate that through my answer writing. Okay. So is everyone now clear on ethical issues? Is everyone now clear on professional issues, right? And is everyone now clear on quality control issues? I want to take you back to my presentation for one last thing. Can you see a list of situations in front of your screen? Now relate them. Now relate them to quality. These are all which the examiner has covered in the article on quality control. And this is all what has come in the past papers. Let's go one by one. Tight deadlines. You all agree to that. Will tight deadlines compromise the quality of audit? Will tight deadlines compromise the quality of audit? Yes. And what's the reason? What's the reason it will compromise the quality of audit? Because we will be in panic. We will be in rush. We will be in panic. We will be in rush. So again, everyone understand what's the reason? What's the reason tight deadlines will compromise the quality of audit? Yes, less audit procedures. Okay, number two, use of judgments. How can a use of judgment compromise the quality of audit? If the judgments are wrong, if the judgments are wrong, so you have to judge in the exam paper the judgments given in the case study, are they right or wrong? Or yes, if the judgments are taken by the junior, then obviously it will be wrong. So either the judgment is wrong or the judgment was taken by a junior. So if a junior takes a judgment, there are more chances it will be wrong. But also please remember that many times in the past paper, the manager took a wrong judgment. So you cannot just ignore the manager in a P7 paper. You need to be critical of a manager, whether the manager is taking a right decision or a wrong decision. So you cannot just say, okay, the person is a manager, so manager is always right. No, the manager cannot be always right. He can be wrong even in the AAA paper. So will you be critical of the manager and the junior both? Or will you just be critical of the junior? Right? For example, there was a past paper where the manager said to the junior not to use the statistical sampling method. Instead use the judgmental sample. Now, when the manager is saying to a junior not to use a statistical sampling method, rather use a judgmental sample, is the manager giving a right judgment? Is the manager giving a right judgment to the junior not to use the statistical sampling, rather use a judgmental sampling? Which sampling method is better? Is statistical sampling better or is judgmental sampling better? Which sampling method is better? Statistical, right? So see what the manager is telling. The manager is saying not to use the statistical method, rather use the judgmental method. So is the manager giving a wrong judgment? Right? Okay, let's go to the next one. Ethical issues. You all agree to that, right? Will ethical issues compromise the quality? If there is any threat to objectivity, will it compromise the quality of the audit? It will. Perfect. Number fourth, sample size. If the sample size is less, if the sample size is inappropriate, will it compromise the quality? If the question says the sample size was reduced, will it compromise the quality? And what about the techniques? You just answered my question. Techniques. Is statistical a better technique or is judgmental a better technique? Yes. So will statistical compromise the quality or will judgmental compromise the quality? Which will compromise the quality, statistical or judgmental? Perfect. Judgmental will compromise the quality. Perfect. Good to see your enthusiasm. Finally, on the day three, there was very less enthusiasm on the first and the second day, but good to see you're all alive in the session today. Okay, number fifth, person involved. Which person? Which person? Junior. If there is a junior involved, will you be concerned about quality? Will you be concerned about quality? Yes. And the person involved is very important, right? So if the person is inexperienced, then it will compromise the quality. Okay, number six, inappropriate or no planning. That's very definite, right? If there is no planning, I start the audit without planning, will it compromise the quality? And there was inappropriate planning. Number seventh, inappropriate or no supervision of the engagement. Inappropriate or no supervision of the engagement. Manager was on holidays. Manager was on holidays. The manager was occupied with many tasks. The manager was busy. So if the manager was busy, or if the manager was occupied with many tasks, or if the manager was away on holidays, then what what sort of quality are you expecting? And the last situation, no review of the working papers. The manager was busy, he didn't have time to review the working papers. You all understand how important it is to review the working papers? Yes, the errors going unseen, exactly. The errors going unseen. If I don't review the working paper, my detection risk will increase. My detection risk will increase. If I don't review the working papers, the errors in the working paper will go unseen. Perfect answers from all of you. That's really good. That's really good response from all of you in the last 10, 15 minutes. So have you understood the correlation of ethics, professional with quality? Is everyone crystal clear on that triangle? Can you understand how ethics links with quality? And is everyone clear how professional links with quality? So is quality dependable upon something? Do quality depends upon something? Exactly. Ethical and professional. So is quality uh, is quality an output? Is quality an output? Perfect. We're coming very closer now to start on with the exam practice. Okay, that completes the things, right? Now, if I just take you back to one last thing, the examiner article, and then just starting on with exam practice. This was the new article, right? Which was on the specialized industry. And the examiner focused on that if we are conducting an audit of a specialized industry, the very first thing we should have is competence. Now, can you correlate that in a specialized industry? See what examples the examiner has given of a specialized industry: airline, banking, agriculture, oil extraction. So examiner believes these are all specialized industry. So if I am doing an audit of an airline industry, should I have a better competence of doing audit of an airline industry? If I'm doing audit of banking, should I have proper knowledge of the banking industry? If I'm doing audit of an agricultural industry, should I have proper knowledge of how the agricultural industry operates? And oil extraction, right? And yes, Hassan, I'm just coming to the marking scheme in like 5 minutes, right? That would be my last thing, and then I'll start on with the practice. Okay. Number two, audit planning. Do you all believe that if you are conducting an audit of a specialized industry, planning is very important? If you are conducting audit of a specialized industry, planning is very important. Is it more important in a specialized industry? So if the question says you are performing an audit of an airline industry and you have started an audit of an airline industry without planning, will it compromise the quality? So if I am doing an audit of an airline industry or an oil extraction industry, or if I'm doing an audit of a agricultural industry and I start without planning, such an important factor. Okay, the last thing, reliance on an expert. Do we need to rely on expert in a specialized industry? Is there a greater need of an expert in a specialized industry to rely on experts? Is there a greater need to rely on experts when we are conducting audit of a specialized industry? And and I don't engage an expert in a specialized industry. Will it compromise the quality? In my team, I don't have an expert. I didn't use an expert. So if I'm making a team for a specialized industry, should my team includes an expert? Yes, an industry expert. So can you relate these three very important things that when you are conducting audit in a specialized industry, what three things we need? And that's the conclusion of the article. So let's make the final mind map here. If in a specialized industry, what specialized industry audit, what three things are essential? What three things are essential? So will you read this article? Will you read this article? Is it an important article? Absolutely yes. So was it a difficult article? Was just focusing on three very natural things. Hardly take 1 hour to read through. Okay, specialized industry. What three things are essential for a specialized industry? Number one, competence. Number two, planning. Number three, using the work of an expert. Using the work of an expert. So is this three clear to all of you? Okay, that's a better mnemonic, Arun Kumar. You're good in making mnemonics, right? So Arun Kumar, one of the attendees of this webinar, is saying that's a CPU. Competence planning using the work of an expert. So that's easy to remember for exam paper, right? So see, Arun Kumar has helped you by taking a CPU mnemonic. Competence planning using the work of an expert. So will you remember those three for a specialized industry from an examination point of view? Right? Okay, that's great. So please do read the new article that has been recommended. And then obviously you cannot say that I didn't cover the new article into my practice to pass session. So on the day three, I'm covering it. And now it's on your side. How would you go down reading the uh, article? Okay, now let's start on with the marking scheme and then start on with the question. Now, if you look at the marking scheme, so you know how much marks you will be getting on this topic. Number one, if ethical, professional, and quality control issue comes in question number one, then you will get 2 marks per issue. Sorry for that. If you get the question ethical, professional, and quality control issues in the first question, which is a 50 marks question, right? Then you will get 2 marks per issue. Ethical issue, professional issue, quality control issues, whatever you write, you will get 2 marks. So you will have 2 marks per issue, and you have 1 mark per action. I hope you know that the question also asks for actions, ethical, professional, and quality control issues, and recommend actions, right? And again, this is the most updated marking scheme which was utilized in the September 18 exams, because in the September 18 exam, the question 1 has a marking scheme of 2, and in the same September 18 exams, the question 2 and 3 has a marking scheme of 1. So you have to take the most latest marking scheme to exam hall. And if the same question comes in 2 or 3, if ethical, professional, and quality control issue comes in question 2 and question 3, then you have 1 mark per issue. So marks have gone down, and 1 mark per action. Right. Anwar Kareem, 1.5 is an old marking scheme, right? The new marking scheme is 1 mark per action, 1 mark per issue. But please remember, when it comes in question 2 and question 3, and if it comes in question 1, the marking scheme is 2 marks per issue and 1 mark per action. Can you all see the marking scheme in front of your screen? This is an easy marking scheme. Is everyone getting the marking scheme? If the question comes in, if the topic comes in question 1, it's 2 marks per issue and 1 mark per action. If it comes in question 2 and question 3, then it's 1 mark per issue and 1 mark per action. And when was this marking scheme used the last time? In the September 18 exams and in the December 18 exams. So this is the most latest updated marking scheme. Okay, so now we are all set, right, to start on with practice. Now, what I will be doing is that if you have seen the resources which have been shared with you for day 3, in the resources, the 2 questions which I will be doing today, already the proper answer of those questions have been given to you as resources. So I will not be drafting in the full answers to so that I can maximize the practice. But you can see the full answers in front of your screens now of the questions I will be doing. And this document has been shared by ACCA with all of you in the handouts. So you can get access to this handout and you can write the proper answers. So I will be doing the sketches so I can guide you how you raise a point and how you justify a point. Muhammad Basit, uh, if ethical, professional, and quality control issues comes in question number 1, whether it is ethical issues in question number 1, whether it is ethical and professional issues in question number 1, or whether it is ethical, professional, and quality control issues in question number 1, it will still have a 2 marks. So whether the question is only on ethics or whether the question is on ethics and professional, but if it is in question number 1, then the marking scheme will be 2. Okay. So these are answers, right, which you will be using. So I'll be making sketch answers so that I can go through the 2 questions I have taken for the live session today. Okay, the first question we are taking is December 14, question number 5A, right in front of your screen. Okay, can you see the requirement of this question, which is exactly what we discussed in the session today? See the question requirement. Explain the quality control. Explain the quality control and other professional issues raised by the audit senior comment in relation to the completion of the audit. So explain the quality control and other professional issues. No ethical issues, right? No ethical issues. Will I be writing the ethical issues here? Will I be writing the ethical issues here? No. The examiner is saying explain the quality control and other professional issues raised by the audit senior comment. Raised by the audit senior comment. So I have to read the audit senior comment, and from the audit senior comment, I need to identify the quality control and other professional issues, and I have 7 marks. So this is an old question, right? Now, if I assume the new marking scheme, so 7 means I need to raise 7 points. Is this question asking for actions? Is this question asking for actions? So will I be writing actions? Will I be writing actions? No. Okay. Now this question is from December 14 when the marking scheme used to be 1.5 marks. So I might not get all the 7 points here because this is an old question which was made on 1.5 marks. Now we are doing this question on 1 mark, right? So we are assuming this is a question not in the question number 1. If it comes in question 1, if it comes in question 1, 7 will be divided by 1 or 2. If the same question comes in question number 1, will the 7 be divided by 2 or 1? 2. And if the same question comes in 2 or 3, will it be divided by 2 or 1? Okay, that's perfect. Okay, now let's see what are the comments. What are the comments of the senior, and within the senior comment, what are the quality control and professional issues? Do I need to bifurcate the issues between quality control and professional issues when I'm writing the answer? Do I need to bifurcate the issues? Do I tell examiner this is a quality control issue and this is a professional issue? No, that's the most illogical way of presenting the answer. No bifurcation of the issue. No bifurcation of the issues, right? So how would you solve the answer? Let's start that and keep reading the case. So the question we are starting is December 2014, question number 5, part A. And it says quality control and other professional issues, and we have 7 marks to grab. Okay, so if I go to the exam hall and I write a heading, quality control issues, and then I write a heading, professional issues, will I be doing it this way? Will I be doing this way in the exam paper, writing the 2 headings, quality control issues and professional issues? No, because if I do it this way, you will spend your entire time in the exam hall thinking, should I put it under quality? Should I put it under professional? You are not doing bifurcation of the issues. You're not doing bifurcation of issues at all. Then what are you doing? As simple as that, you are telling examiner, identify the issue, plus explain the issue, justify what is the implication, of the issue on the audit. That is it. Identify the issue and explain the issue. Justify what is the implication of the issue on the audit. That's the most scoring opportunity. Now, if it is in the question number 1, this formula will give you 2 marks. If it is in question number 2 or 3, this formula will give you 1 mark. So identify the issue and explain the issue. Let's demonstrate that in front of you. Okay, let's take some examples from the case. And again, you can see the answer shared with you. Okay, let's go back to the case study. Start reading the case study. Okay, the case is in front of you, right? The audit of Breadley Company's financial statement for the year ending 31st of August is nearly complete. So the audit is nearly complete. So which stage of the audit we are on? We are on the finalization stage. We are on the completion stage. And can a question on ethical professional issue come on any stage of the audit? At the planning stage, during the audit, or at the end of the audit? Yes. So this question is coming at the end of the audit, completion stage. And the audit report is to be issued next week. So we need to issue the audit report next week. So the audit report is to be issued next week. Breadley operates a steel processing plants at 20 locations and sell its output to manufacturers and engineering companies. You are a manager, right? An engagement quality control review. So you are performing an engagement quality control review on the audit of Breadley Company. It is a significant new client of your firm. Is that a very important statement? A significant new client of your firm? Significant in terms of what? Significant new client of your firm. Significant in terms of what? Significant in terms of big? Okay, that's better. Significant in terms of fees. Significant in terms of money. Significant in terms of your self-interest. Significant new client of your firm. Obviously, it will be a big client. That's the reason it's giving you a lot of money. But significant means in terms of the revenue. Significant means in terms of the money. Significant new client of your firm. Okay, let's see how important that statement could be when we identify the problems from the senior comment. Can we identify the problems from the opening paragraphs? Can we identify the problem from the opening paragraph? No, not at all, Karan. What is the examiner saying? What is the examiner saying? Raised Explain the quality control and other professional issues raised by the audit senior comment. So can we identify the problem from the opening paragraph, or should we identify the problem from the comment on the senior? See, this can be a big blunder in the exam paper. So where should I pick the problem? From the opening paragraph or from the comment of the senior? From the comment of the senior. So have we started to read the comment of the senior? Have we started to read the comment of the senior yet? No. So can I make any marks so far? I cannot make any marks so far, right? Okay, then comes the comment of the senior. The audit senior who has been working on the audit of Bradley Company made the following comment. Now starts my marks. Made the following comment. Made the following comment. Who made the following comment? The senior. So where is the comment? In the inverted commas. So my marks will start from the inverted commas. Okay, let's see what is the comment of the senior and how will I justify that. Number one, we received the final version of the financial statements and the chairman's statement to be published with the financial statements yesterday. Okay, that's fine because the management has given you the final version of the financial statement and the chairman's statement yesterday, and that's an ideal time when you get the final version. So management has given you the final version, right? Now see the problem the audit team did on the final version. Number one problem, I have a quick look at the financial statement. I have a quick look at the financial statements. Number one, is that the problem? Which financial statements? The final version, the final version. And remember, is it a new client? Is it a new client? Is it a new client? Yes. And have I looked quickly on the financial statements, the final financial statements? So can I go back to my Word file and take my first example, number one? Quick look, quick look at financial statements. See the heading I'm writing. I'm not writing quality control and professional. See the heading I'm writing, and under the heading, I'll justify my points. This is how you're writing the answer. The quick look at the financial statements by the senior must had resulted in overlooking some of the important changes in the financial statement from the draft version of the financial statement the audit team must had gone through earlier. When we start the audit, right? When we start the audit, we get the draft financial statements, right? And when we end the audit, we get the final version of the financial statement. Can there be some changes from the draft version to the final version? Can there be some changes between the draft version and the final version? So can I just have a quick look at the final version? Is that right? Is that wrong? Because if I take a quick look at the final version, is there a chance I might overlook some of the important changes in the financial statement which must have come, which was not in the draft financial statement? So the quick look at the financial statement by the senior must have resulted in overlooking some of the important changes in the financial statement from the draft version. The audit team must had gone earlier. Moreover, being a new audit client, the quick look was an inappropriate professional behavior, Moreover, being a new audit client, the quick look was an inappropriate professional behavior as the audit team should had spent more time on a critical review of the final version for Breadley Company. See how I wrote a paragraph? So moreover, being a new audit client, the quick look was an inappropriate professional behavior. Do you agree with that? Was it an inappropriate professional behavior? Had I been skeptical, or had I not been skeptical here? Being a new audit client, I should had been skeptical, right? But I was not skeptical because I had a quick look. So did I wrote somewhere this is a professional issue, or did I wrote somewhere this is a quality control issue, or was I more focused on telling examiner what's the issue? So will we get marks for telling examiner what's the issue, or will we get examiner marks for telling examiner is it a quality control issue or is it a professional issue? How will we get marks? By explaining the issue or by classifying the issue? Exactly, agree. Good answers. Okay, let's do one more exercise on this question. Number two, back to the case. Okay, I have a quick look at the financial statement, right? But the manager said I need not to perform a detailed review of the financial statement. What the manager said is right or wrong? The manager said I need not to perform a detailed review of the financial statements. Is the manager right or wrong? And why is he wrong? Why is he wrong? Because we will get marks for why. Not just telling the examining team that the manager is wrong. We will get marks for telling examining team why is he wrong? Who will tell me that? Why is he wrong? Because it's a new client. Not to perform a detailed review. This detailed review is basically the analytical review, right? And is it mandatory to perform an analytical review at the completion stage of the audit? Is it mandatory to perform an analytical review at the completion stage of audit, just like it is mandatory to perform it at the planning stage? I hope all of you know this, that it is mandatory to perform an analytical review at the planning stage, and it is mandatory to perform an analytical review at the completion stage. So have I breached my standards? Have I breached my standards as a manager? Have I breached my standard as a manager? Okay, let's write this answer quickly. Not to perform a detailed review. Number two, not detailed review. Detailed review. And I'll write under this. The manager has given the manager has exercised the wrong judgment. Has exercised a wrong judgment. So in my first part of the lecture today, did we came across an example of judgments, and judgments can be right and wrong in exam paper? So have we got an example of a judgment here? Okay, the manager has exercised a wrong judgment, by informing the senior to skip the detailed review of financial statements when such a detailed review was mandatory, as it is the requirement of relevant auditing standards. You need not to write the reference of the standard, but you're just telling examiner when such a detailed review was mandatory, as it is a requirement of the relevant auditing standards. And further, it was a new client. Thus, the manager lacked the professional behavior needed from him, and the wrong judgment must had compromised the quality of the audit. So a wrong judgment compromised the quality. Is that true? Is there a correlation between a wrong judgment and the quality of audit? You got to know from the lecture. Yes, that's Delisto. That's the next point. That's the next point I'll be raising. So the manager has exercised the wrong judgment, right? By informing the senior to skip the detailed review when such a detailed review was mandatory, as it is a requirement of the relevant auditing standards. Further, it was a new client. Thus, the manager lacked the professional behavior needed from him, and the wrong judgment must have compromised the quality, right? And the next thing, the last, then I'll change the question, right? Rest you will be solving yourself. Number 3. Let's see what's the next statement the manager took. The manager then told, I need not to perform a detailed review on the financial statement as the audit was relatively low risk. Is that another wrong thing the manager said, that the audit is relatively low risk? Can a first year audit be low risk? Can a first year audit be low risk? So is that another wrong judgment? So will we write another point here? Low risk. And how will we take marks? The first year audit. This is yet another wrong judgment. This is yet another wrong judgment of the manager. And it seems that the manager lacks the experience. The manager lacks the experience or skills needed from him. Does it bring doubt on the manager's skills and experience? Does it bring doubts? Yes, headings are advised, right? Headings are advised. That's the perfect format I'm doing the answer in. Does it bring doubt on the manager's experience and skills, the way he's taking decisions, the way he's taking rash decisions, haste decisions? Does it bring doubt on his ability here? Does it seem his manager is undertrained or does not have the up-to-date knowledge? So this is yet another wrong judgment of the manager, as it seems that the manager lacks the experience or skills needed from him. The first year audit can't be low risk, as the auditor has less knowledge of business, which increases the risk in the first year audit, which increases the risk in the first year audit. So can you understand the raisings of the point? Did you saw how I write the point? Did you understand the drafting? Can you see the focus of my drafting was explaining the issue? Is that true? Has the focus of my drafting been on explaining the issue? Or was the focus of my drafting again and again telling examiner, this is a quality control issue, this is a professional issue, something like that? And did you understand the format? Can you see the headings? Can you see the headings? The assessor likes heading, right? Because you are telling assessor this is the point, and under the point you're writing the explanation. This is the best way to present a theoretical paper, that you put a heading, because heading helps the assessor to identify your point, and then under the identify of the point you explain it. This is the best presentation for a theoretical paper, and that's an ideal presentation for a AAA exam. Headings para, headings para, headings para. Right. So as per the new marking scheme, if this is the question 1, as per the new marking scheme, if this is the question 1, how many marks have we got so far? 6. Perfect. Not Delisto, not 3. If it is the question 1, Delisto, how many marks have we got? 6. And if it is the question 2 or 3, then how many marks we got? 3. So are you understanding the marking scheme now? Okay, great. So this is the first part of the session. Now is the time for break, and post break we are going off the December 14 question, and I'll keep in front of you yet another important question which I've not attempted in any of my previous webinar. That is, no, heading does not carry marks, right? Heading is part of your presentation, Muhammad Shoaib. So I'll be keeping the second question in front of you, which is December 15, question number 4, and I'll be attempting that for the first time in the webinar. So I need to show you again a way of writing the answer, but again, remember the suggested answers have been shared with you, so you can take track from the suggested answers, right? So we're off to a break for 15 minutes. And after 15 minutes, I'll be resuming back with the second question in focus. Now, just before the break, I need your quick feedback. Since the start of the session to this point in time, how had the session been? Had you been able to learn something good out of the session today in terms of ethical, professional, and quality control issues? Was there any refinement to your blunders? Was there any refinement to your blunders? Did you identify what is your shortcomings? Did you identify your weaknesses? So did you really gain something in the last 1 hour and so? Okay, and hopefully you will be getting more in the next 1 hour of the session. So we're off to a break now. So we are going to a break. Uh, have a cup of tea or coffee. Come back fresh to the last 1 hour of the session, and we are off to the break till 10. Approximately 15 minutes, right? We'll make it 10:32 p.m. The Pakistan Standard Time. So I'll be coming back at 10:32, and in the last 1 hour exactly, we'll be interacting on the last question. Okay, off to a break. Okay, welcome back after the break. We are now starting with the last part of the day three session uh, for the AAA Practice to Pass for March 2019 exams. And just prior to the break, we were discussing the December 14 question number 5A in terms of the quality control and professional issues. Now let's take a look at another question. And this time in front of your screen is a December 15 question number 4. And this is like a very typical question if you've done the past papers, which has the ABC part. Now, we have seen many times that a question on ethical professional issues comes with segregated parts, and in each of those parts, there are problems for you to identify. Now, if you look at the part A has 7 marks, right? Then you go down and you look at the part B, it has another 7 marks. And then there is a part C, which has 6 marks. Now let's see the requirements of the question. The requirements of the question says evaluate each of the issues described above. So above is the 3 issues, right? Evaluate each of the issues described above, comma, commenting on the ethical and professional issues raised. So will we be speaking about the quality control in this question? Will we be telling about the quality has compromised, or will we be telling about the quality control issues in this question? No, we'll just be focusing on the ethical and professional issues. And again, we will not be bifurcating the ethical and professional issues. We'll just be justifying the issue and why it is an issue. Okay, so the examiner wants us to identify the issues. And there is an extra thing here that he also wants us to recommend the actions. So how many marks we will get for an action? Irrespective, the question is 1, 2, 3. How many marks we will get for action? 1. Okay. Now, if a question like such is in the question number 1 of the new format, then we have 2 marks per issue and 1 mark per action. And if a question like such is in the question 2 or question 3 of the new format of the paper, then we are getting 1 mark per issue and 1 mark per action. Okay, let's start to read through each of these issues. I have given you the marking, I have given you the suggested answer. So I'll not just be spending my entire time on A. I'll just be going through A, B, C quickly, taking scattered points from A, B, C. So you have an idea of all 3, and then you can solve it yourself and see my suggested answer. Okay, let's start to read it. You are a manager in Monet and Company, a firm of accountants which has 12 offices and 30 partners, 10 of whom are members of ACCA. An expert in ethics, as an expert in ethics and professional conduct, you have been asked to advise the partners on the following issues. So you have been asked to advise the partners on the following issues. So let's see what are the issues on which you have to advise them, which were raised at the recent meeting. Okay, number 1. The first issue you need to inform them about is an advertisement. An advertisement has been drafted as part of the firm drive to increase the number of clients. Okay, that's wonderful. It is suggested that it should be placed in a number of quality national as well as local newspapers. That's another wonderful thing, right? So the firm wants to increase the income, and for that reason, the firm wants to advertise. So that's something good enough. And they have placed the ad in the newspaper, not in any ordinary newspapers. They have put ads in the quality national and local newspapers. So far, so good. Okay, now let's see the advertisement. Is there any problem with the advertisement you are drafting as an ACCA firm? Have you had enough of your accountants charging you too much for the poor quality service? Is that the right statement to put in an advertisement being an audit firm representing ACCA? Have you had enough of your accountants charging you too much for the poor quality service? Is that the right tone? Is that like criticizing the other firms? Is that like discrediting the other firms? So have you had enough of your accountants charging you too much? So that's an absolute wrong statement here. So are we classifying the issue, or are we telling examiner why this is a wrong statement? Have you had enough of your accountants charging you too much? So let's go down, start the word file. The first issue. Okay, let's take on the next question. This time it's December 15 and the question number 4. And we're looking at the part A, and the part A is about advertisement. And the first point we got for advertisement, we have 7 marks to grab. The first point we're getting is, have you had enough? Now let's explain that. Now, if you say, have you had enough? That's a very unprofessional statement to be used by an audit firm, right? First of all, I'll be telling examiner, this is a very unprofessional statement. And then I'll tell why. This is a very unprofessional statement because such a statement brings discredit. Such a statement brings discredit to the other service providers. Such a statement brings discredit to the other service providers. And I have to write an action, right? Do I need to write an action, or do I need not to write an action in this question? Action, right? This is a very unprofessional statement because such a statement brings discredit to other service provider, and statements like such are prohibited to be used in an advertisement by an audit firm. See, within that paragraph, I wrote the action as well. I'm not keeping the space of action at the end of my answer. Wherever we are discussing a problem, with the problem, I'll give the action. So this paragraph can be worth like 3 marks. If the marking scheme is 2 plus 1, or if the marking scheme is 1 plus 1, then this paragraph is worth 2 marks now. Okay, number 2. Okay, have you had enough of your accountants charging you too much for the poor quality service? Does your business needs a kickstart? Now that's an intro line, no problem with that. Does your business needs a kickstart? Look no further. Monet and Company provides the most comprehensive range of finance and accountancy service in the country. Is that another problem? Monet and Company provides the most comprehensive range of the finance and accountancy service in the countries. Yes, exactly, Tayyaba. One such headings are allowed. That's the reason I'm using them in my live session, right? So whatever I'm showing you on the screen is all permissible. Is that something of a wrong claim? Is that again discrediting the services of the other service provider? When you say I'm the most comprehensive range of finance and accountancy service in the country, then what about other service providers? Are they not offering comprehensive range of services? So is it a wrong statement when you say I'm the best in the country? I have the most comprehensive range in the country. So is it like saying I am the best firm in the whole country here? You're not just saying a city, right? You're saying the country. So most comprehensive range of finance and accountancy service is the second problem. Most comprehensive range of service. Most comprehensive range of service. And I'll write under this. Such statement, again, such statements do bring discredits to other service providers in the country because such claims are these Such these are such claims are substantial. Such claims are substantial and portray as if Monet and Company is the best service provider in the country. Right? So such statement do bring discredit. Such statements do bring discredit to other service providers in the country because such claims are substantial, right? And portray as if Monet and Company is the best service provider in the country. How can that be? So again, statements like such are not permissible by the profession are not permissible to be used in the firm advertisement as the professional body does not encourage such statements. So see how am I writing the answer? Substantial means this is a significant claim, right? Whether you are claiming, Muhammad Mubashir, you are claiming as if I am the best firm. That's a very substantial claim. That's a very significant claim. So substantial means it's a significant claim here, right? So again, can you see the drafting style before the break and after the break? It's just like picking up a problem, telling why it is a problem, but the extra thing we are doing here is that we are also writing the action. Yes, exactly. It's misleading too, right? Misleading, substantial, misleading. Okay, the next one, number 3. That's the last one I'm doing from this case. Then I'm going down to the number B. Then you can see the rest of the answer from my suggested answers. Okay, number 3. And the leading tax team in the country. Again, the same problem. You will draft it yourself. The leading tax team in the country. So again, the same problem. You can put the heading leading tax team and then you can write under the leading tax team and then see the last one. The leading tax team who is just waiting to save you money. Is there something fishy behind the statement who are just waiting to save you money? Does it seem the firm can do tax evasion here? Does it seem the firm is saying by any good means or bad means I'll save you the tax? Is there something vague behind the statement? Is this an ambiguous statement? Is this a vague statement? Is this a statement where there is something of a concern? If there is something of a concern behind the statement, can the firm involve in some unethical practices here? Can the firm involve in tax evasions? So just waiting to save you money, right? Is the next one. Waiting to save you money. This is a vague statement as this is a vague statement because the statement because this is a vague statement because such a statement raises concern that the audit firm could even indulge in wrong practices such as tax evasion to guarantee client. The firm could indulge in wrong practices such as tax evasion to save money for the client. The firms are prohibited from using such vague statements which can send wrong message to public in their advertisement. So if this is the question number 1, I'm gaining 6 marks. No, I'm gaining 2 each for the issue, 1 each for the action. So I'm gaining 6 and 3, 9. And if this is question 2 or 3, then I'm gaining 6 in all. 1 for the issue, 1 for the action. Right? And the rest of the case you will solve yourself. I've shown you shown you the start of the A. You will end the A part, right? Okay, now let's do the B part. Okay, let's get to the part B. If I go to the question again and we start skimming through the B part, we have 7 marks for the B part, and it's the planning. It's the planning for the audit of Renoir company. The planning for the audit of the Renoir company. So which heading I should be using here? Renoir company's financial statement to segregate. So the second requirement is about Renoir company's financial statement. So B. B is Renoir company, Renoir company, right? And under Renoir company, we'll write the first problem. Janet, the action is basically what should have been the right. In the action, we just tell what should have been the right solution here. So the action could be that something is prohibited. The action could be that something is not allowed. So action is like the mitigation here. How would you mitigate it? Okay, number one, Renoir company. In the case of the ethics, Janet, the actions are the safeguard, right? But in the case of like advertisement, the actions are something is allowed and something is not allowed. Uh, yes, Karan, we can do that. We can do that. Okay, B. The planning for the audit of the Renoir company's financial statement will commence shortly. So which stage are we standing on? We are standing at the planning stage, right? The planning will commence shortly. That's good. In preparation, the partner telephoned the finance director, which is very good because the partner wants to set up a planning meeting. So the partner telephoned the Renoir finance director, Jim, to set up a planning meeting. Is that something good? And to remind him that the fees relating to the tax engagement from the previous audit were still outstanding. So the partner is telephoning Jim, which is very good. That means the partner is aware of his leadership responsibilities. The partner knows his leadership responsibility that I have to call the finance director and I have to set up a planning meeting. To set up a planning meeting and to remind him that the fees relating to the tax engagement is still outstanding. Is that a good reminder that the fees relating to the tax engagement is outstanding? What is the ethical threat with an outstanding fees? Self-interest threat, right? Because an outstanding fees is like a loan to a client. So has the partner taken a right action here by reminding Jim that the fees relating to the tax engagement from the previous year audit is still outstanding? So has he took the right action? But what is the issue with the outstanding fees? What is the issue with the outstanding fees? It's like a self-interest threat, right? Right. So let's write that first point. The fees relating to the tax engagement is still outstanding. Number one, outstanding tax fees. And you write under the outstanding fees is like a loan to the client which give rise to self-interest threat. So did I tell examiner why it is a self-interest threat or did I not? Did I tell examiner why it's a self-interest threat? It's like a loan. It's like a loan to a client. So the outstanding fees is like a loan to the client which give rise to a self-interest threat. However, the partner took the right action to remind Jim about the recovery of the tax fees prior to the start of the upcoming audit. So did the partner took the right action? Will I be supporting the partner action? Yes, and exactly, it can be an intimidation threat. If I start the audit with an outstanding fees, it give rise to an intimidation threat even, right? And Bunny's saying you need to revise your basics basically. That an outstanding fees is like as if you've given a loan to the client, because that's favoring the client basically, right? The client is getting benefit from the outstanding fees because the client has to pay you. The client has to pay you. So it's like a loan, right, which the client has to return back to you. Okay, so how many marks will I get for outstanding tax fees? One mark for the self-interest and 1 mark for supporting the action. The partner took the right action to remind Jim, so I'll get 1 mark for that as well because I appreciated the action here. Did I be writing my own action, or will I just be supporting the action which the partner took? Right, Ali Raza, my self-interest is in the recovery of the fees, right? So obviously it's a self-interest. Will I have an interest in the recovery of the fees? Will I want the fees back from the client? So is it not my self-interest? Some of you like Money Singh, Ali Raza, you're just weak on your basics. These are basics at this stage of exams, when 3 weeks after you have exams, you are testing your basics. Okay, next point. Number 2. Okay, Mr. Cassett raised concern about the conduct of the previous audit, stating numerous examples of when he and his staff had been interrupted when they were busy. Uh, the Mr. Cassett is very much concerned about interrupted when they had been busy. Can we reduce the interruptions when we come for the next year audit? Can we take any action here? Can we reduce the levels of interruption when we come for the next audit? Can we take an action? Can we take an action? No, 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 not at all. This is not a limitation of scope, right? He's only concerned about the interruptions. So can we reduce the interruptions? Can we provide a schedule of information to the client which we will be needing from them at the start of the audit? So can we provide them a list of information? Can we provide them a list of information? Will that reduce the interruptions of going again and again to the client? So interruptions is a regular feature of the audit, right? But unnecessary interruptions can bother the client. So the client is a bit bothered about your interruptions, right? He's not stopping you from work, but he's saying, I was a bit disturbed about the interruptions. So can we take some actions to reduce the interruptions to an acceptable level? Can we provide them with a schedule of meetings, or can we provide them with a schedule of informations so the client knows what I need from them? So number 2 point, right? He's concerned about interruptions. So what will you tell examiner? Interruptions. And under the interruptions, you will first tell what's the issue. You will first tell examiner that interruptions are a regular feature of audit engagement, as the audit team needs to gather evidence and need to seek explanation from the from the client. So you first justify that interruptions is like a regular feature. of the audit engagement, as the audit team needs to gather evidence and needs to seek explanation from the client. Then you tell, however, the level of interruptions can be reduced to an acceptable level so that the client is not bothered. So the client is not bothered by providing a list of information to the client prior to the start of the audit. Prior to the start of the audit. Such a list will reduce the team interaction, will reduce the team interaction with the client. So that's acceptable, right? The code of conduct says we can provide such a list to the client, right? This is an acceptable norm. So we can disturb the client, but we cannot disturb the client unnecessarily. The client is very much concerned here that there was a lot of interruptions the last year. So we will say to Jim that yes, I can reduce them, but I cannot make them zero, because you need to understand this is a regular feature of the audit. So yes, exactly, this is a professional issue, right? That this is a regular feature of audit that I need to cause interruptions. But again, Mohammed Basit, should I be classifying to the examiner that interruptions is a professional issue? Or am I more concerned about explaining what interruptions are and what is an acceptable safeguard? So is everyone clear on interruptions as an issue? And is everyone clear on the actions of the interruptions? Again, please have a focus on drafting. Are you getting some sense out of the drafting? How am I starting my point? How am I raising my point? And how am I concluding the point? Are you getting some advantage from that? Are you getting a track of how you put a heading, then you explain the point, and then you go down with writing in action? Okay, that's great. Okay, one last point from this question, and we're exiting, and we're taking on the C part then. Number 3. Okay, he stated that he won't guarantee that this year audit will be more efficient. Can we give guarantee that this year audit will be more efficient? Is it true? Is it true that a recurring audit is more efficient than the last year? Is it true that a recurring audit is more efficient from the last year? Everyone is getting my point? Is it true that a recurring audit is more efficient from the last year? So, but can we give a guarantee? No, we can give an assurance. So yes, there is a learning curve effect, right? So when there is a learning curve effect, no, there is no intimidation threat. There is a learning curve. There is a learning curve that every year audit is more efficient than the previous year, but we cannot give guarantee. So what are we telling to Mr. Jim here? More efficient. So we will tell Mr. Jim, recurring audits are more recurring audits can be, we're not sure, can be more efficient from the previous audit due to auditor overall knowledge of business, right? So recurring audits can be more efficient from the previous audits due to the auditor overall knowledge of business. However, the audit firm cannot provide guarantee as the pace of the audit needs to be balanced in accordance with the risky areas identified each year in the financial statements, each year in the financial statements. So can I just give a guarantee to Jim? Okay, when I come for the next year audit, I'll be more efficient. But you are saying to the examiner, yes, they can be efficient. Yes, they can be efficient. However, the audit firm cannot provide a guarantee as the pace of the audit needs to be balanced in accordance with the risky areas identified each year in the financial statement. So are we writing this answer in a more skeptical tone here? So is the demand of the director right? But should we approach the demand with a more skeptical tone? He's not raising a wrong demand, right? But we need to see the demand of the director with a skeptical mindset. Yes, exactly. And the remaining requirements you can see from my answer, right? Cheaper, less intrusive. Otherwise, he will seek an alternative auditor, which is an intimidation threat. So the remaining part of the B, you can solve yourself by looking at my answers shared with you. Okay, the last one, C. Okay, when we look at the C part, Josna, yes, exactly. The question you are raising has a yes answer. Okay, look at the C part now. In the C part, your firm audit the publisher Homer Winslow. During the recent audit, the company's finance director commented on the growing competition in the digital publishing sector. So we are auditing Homer Winslow, and during its recent audit, the finance director of Homer is very much concerned about the competition increasing in the digital publishing sector. One rapidly expanding competitor, Pissarro, was specifically referred to. So Homer is very much concerned about Pissarro as its competitor. Now, whenever we see competitors, immediately as a student sitting in exam hall, we should think about the conflict of interest. You are aware that your firm recently acquired another accountancy firm, Mar Associates, and that Pissarro is one of their client. So after the acquisition of Mar, has is Monet responsible for the audit of Homer and Pissarro? Is the audit of Homer and Pissarro after the acquisition of Mar is with Monet? Yes or no? Is Monet now responsible for the audit of Homer and Pissarro both? So is it giving rise to a conflict of interest? Is it giving rise to a conflict of interest? Arun Kumar, why there was a no answer? Your firm recently acquired another accountancy firm, Mar, and Pissarro is one of their client. So has Pissarro, after the acquisition, has Pissarro become my client? Okay, that's wonderful. So let's write the first issue. I'll give heading to Homer. Homer Winslow will become my heading. And under Homer Winslow, I'll write my first point. Number one, acquisition of Mar, because that's the problem. Acquisition of Mar. So due to the recent acquisition, of Mar, Monet has taken on Pissarro. Pissarro as one of their client alongside Homer. Due to the recent acquisition of Mar, Monet has taken on Pissarro as one of their client alongside Homer. This give rise to conflict of interest. This gives rise to conflict of interest as Monet will be doing audit of both the competitors, whereby confidential information of one competitor can go to the other, can go to other. So where there is a conflict of interest, there is a confidentiality problem. This gives rise to conflict of interest, 1 mark, and Monet will be doing audit of both the competitors. So this gives rise to conflict of interest as Monet will be doing audit of both the competitors, whereby confidential information, another 1 mark. So now I have to write the actions. However, it is permissible, it is permissible to do audit of competitors if acceptable safeguards, if acceptable safeguards are implemented. If acceptable safeguards are implemented. Monet should first notify both Monet should first notify both Homer and Pissarro of the situation and seek permission from both to continue performing audit of both. That's the first action, right? Monet should first notify Homer that I already got Pissarro after acquisition, and you should be telling Pissarro that I'm already doing audit of Homer, and seek permission from both to continue. Because see, the problem is with the competitors here. So I should take an assurance from the competitor that do you have any problem? If one of the competitors say yes, I do have a problem, then I have to choose one of them. But if Homer says I have no problem with Pissarro and Pissarro says I have no problem with Homer, then you can continue, right? No, 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 Amsal, there is no such thing. There is no such thing you're raising, right? So what's the first safeguard for conflict of interest is to seek permission. Seek permission from whom? Seek permission from the competitors. So if one of the competitors says I'm uncomfortable, then I have to choose one. But if both the competitors agree, then I can go down and make a separate team. Then next safeguard, if both the competitors if both the competitors agree that Monet can perform their audit, then Monet has to make two separate teams. Monet has to make two separate teams for Monet has to make two separate teams to avoid any risk of confidentiality. Avoid any risk of confidentiality. And lastly, Monet should ensure that there is a confidentiality agreement. There is a confidentiality agreement signed between both the teams. Now, if you get a conflict of interest situation in an exam context, you can score many marks from writing actions, because these are three must actions. These are three must actions you need to write with Monet. So the first action is seek permission. The second action is two separate teams. And the third action is agreement, confidentiality agreement. That's the third action. So how many marks will I gain for the three actions here? How many marks will I gain for the three actions here? 3. And how many marks have I gained for issues? One issue was a conflict of interest, and one issue was the confidential information. So if it is a 2 marks question, I'm gaining 4. If it is a 1 marks question, I'm gaining 2. And the rest of the question, you can do it yourself by looking at my answer. So I have given emphasis to A, B, and C. At least I've shown you the track, how to start A, B, and C, and the remaining track you can pick on. But do answer my question. Have you become clear of handling a question on ethical, professional, and quality control? Do you know exactly what is to be done? You just need to read the question. You just need to read the question, and wherever you find a problem, make a heading, make a heading, and under the heading, explain the problem. If the examiner asks you to write action, then write actions. If the examiner don't ask you to write actions, don't write actions. But in my previous drafting and in my this drafting, have you seen anywhere that I was telling examiner this is an ethical issue, or this is a professional issue, or this is a quality control issue? Have I been telling examiner the bifurcations of issues? Right? And the presentation I have shown you is a very recommendable presentation, right? This is a recommended presentation. So if you structure your answers this way, as been demonstrated in this live session, this is one of the best presentations of your answers. So if you use headings, it will give you confidence, because headings means that you identified a problem. A lot of time, I have seen students that they write so congested. A lot of times students write so congested and so illogically that it's so very difficult for the assessor to check your paper. And Muhammad Basit, I've shown you the way of writing the action. Did I wrote actions in bullets? So you cannot write them in bullets, right? Only on the day 2 yesterday, we can write procedures in bullets. We can write evidence in bullet. But when you're writing an action, the action will be merged in a paragraph. So when you write an issue, along with the issue, you write an action. Is everyone getting that point? Issue plus the action in one paragraph. Then an issue, then an action, then an issue, then an action. It has to go in one paragraph, right? Yes, exactly. Osama. Osama, you can do that. Yes, there can be multiple implications of one thread, and you can write those multiple implications of one thread. Yes, exactly, Delisto. You're right, perfectly right. Okay, let's take the final picture now of this topic. We had been into the day 3 now. Now, if I just do a quick recap of this third day, we looked at 3 very important things today. The first one being ethical issues, the second one being the professional issues, and the third one being the quality control issues, right? I mentioned very clearly in my presentation today that what basically are the ethical issues. Then we had a good exercise on professional issues. I have given you many examples of what basically are the professional issues. And then we had a very good drill on quality control issues, right? As in terms of What compromised the quality? What compromised the quality? And you were all very clear about the correlation of professional and ethical issues with quality. So I hope everyone understands the um, correlation uh, of quality with ethical and professional issues. Then we went down and we did the new article today. And please, it is highly recommendable that you read the new article, which is Audit in a Specialized Industry. And we came across three very important things from the audit in a specialized industry, one being competence, one being planning, and one being using the work of an expert, right? So, will you all be reading the new article? Do everyone got to know that there is a new article for March? Is this message being disseminated to all of you? Is everyone getting that message clearly? There is a new article for March exams. Will you be skipping this article? Not at all. You will be reading this article. And that's a very simple article. So please assure within the next 24 hours, you do read this article, right? Secondly, Um, we came across the marking scheme, and is everyone clear on the revised marking schemes which is being used from September 18 exams? Is everyone clear when to use 2 marks and when to use 1 marks? You will use 2 marks when? When will you use the 2 marks? If it comes in the question number 1. And when will you use 1 mark? When will you use the 1 mark? When it comes in question 2 and 3. Okay, and how many marks we have for actions? How many marks we have for actions? 1. Okay. Then comes down to the last thing. Is everyone clear that when you are writing an answer, what will you do first? You will identify the issue first, right? Number 1. And when you identify the issue, then second, what will you do? You will explain the issue, right? You will explain the issue. Number 2. And what will be the focal point of explain? What will be the implication for the audit? So can you see the formula in front of your screen? Identify the issue and explain the issue, and in the bracket, justify what is the implication of the issue on audit, right? And then I shown you the way of writing answers. Heading is identify, heading is identify, and the para after is the explanation. And again, I've been emphasizing that a lot in my session today, that this is a very good presentation of answers, that you use headings and paragraph. You're attempting a question on risk, headings and paragraph. You're attempting a question on ethical professional quality control, headings and paragraph, right? So please be very specific about that. Now, you have 2 home assignment questions for the day today, which is June 18, question number 3. So try to solve the June 18 question 3 on the same track as you got knowledge in the session today, and the June 15 question number 4 just on the same track as if you got the as you got the knowledge today. And if you still have any doubts, you still blur, you still have access to my March 18 webinar. You still have access to my June 18 webinar. You still have access to my September 18 webinar and my December 18 webinar. You can go to vimeo.com and you can access the ACCA Pakistan channel, right? And over there, you can see all the webinars available. So if you have you want to do more practice, so will you be exploring these previous webinars for more practice? So will you be exploring these previous webinars for more practice? So see how many questions have been done in the previous webinars right in front of your screen. So that can be a very good source for you, right? That can be a very good source for you to do more practice and to gain more confidence. Because in each of these webinars, I have been very different, right? Because I cannot be monotonous. I cannot be monotonous in each of my lectures. Each of my lecture is different from the previous lecture, because that's the most boring element that you bring, that you're monotonous in each and every lecture you deliver. So you will gain many new things from each of my previous webinars conducted. Okay, one last thing before I just wind up my session. I just recommended you that you have to go to the articles, and there is an article which is the part 1 article here. Can you see right in front of your screen? Exam technique article part 1 ethics. No, no, Abdullah Iqbal, we cannot underline anything in the exam paper. So can you see the first article? If I click this article, you will see this article right in front of your screen, which is part 1 ethics. Please assure you skim through this article. This is such an important article because when you skim through this article, you will realize what mistakes students do in exam context. This is a very well written article by the AAA examining team, which will guide you about the problems and the issues the student do when they're attempting a question on ethics. So please make a time schedule, skim through this article because this article will really guide you what you should be doing. See the first heading of this article, what you need to know about ethics. Then, secondly, examiner is telling how you go about identify the threat, evaluate the significance of the threat, and apply the safeguards. So, this is a very good article which will give you examples. Many examples have been done by the examining team. You can see these examples in front of your screen, right? So, the examining team has done multiple examples in the article. So, that you can gain confidence. You can gain confidence ahead of your exams. So let's make a final strategy. For the day 3, you need to read how many articles? You need to read 3 articles, right? One on ethics, one on quality control, and one on audit in a specialized industry, right? So will you be reading these 3 articles before the day 4 tomorrow? So you have 24 hours to read these 3 articles: quality control, ethics part 1, and audit in a specialized industry. So make a schedule for the next 24 hours, right? Read the 3 articles. And how many questions will you be practicing for before the last day tomorrow? You will be practicing 2 questions, June 18 and June 15, right? Okay. Now please give me a final feedback about the session today. Has this 2.5 hours of a session really benefited you in terms of uh, your exam confidence? You have exam 3 weeks from now or less than 3 weeks from now. Has this day 3 of the practice to pass has really given you some confidence and has really given you some clear guidance about how would you be going down attempting your paper in March 2019? Right? Please, one last thing. A lot of time I have seen students that they write so much unnecessary in exam paper. They just make stories which are hypothetical stories. They just make uh, illogical situations in exam paper. They just keep writing. See, your generic writing will not give you anything. Your generic writing will not give you anything. It is a specific writing you have to do in the AAA exam. And one thing, if you have seen in my answers drafting, vocabulary, jargons, a lot of time you're writing so layman answers. You are not using the audit dictionary, you're not using the audit language, you're not using the audit jargons when you're writing in the answer. Please remember that in a theoretical paper, the language really counts. The jargons really count because you need to make an impression in a theoretical paper. We normally ignore things like such an exam paper. We are just focused on writing, 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 and most of the time, whatever we are writing illogical. We are writing too much. Too much writing will not give you anything. Too much writing will not give you anything. You just need to focus on a clear answer, concise answer. So if you have a clear answer, if you have a concise answer, which is up to the case study, you will definitely gain a pass in it. And yes, in my session tomorrow, which is the last day of this Practice to Pass webinar, my focal point tomorrow is reporting. And again, I will be practicing questions on reporting, which I have not practiced in any of my previous webinars. So I will give you some new practice tomorrow. And with reporting, I would prefer if you can come revised with reporting tomorrow so that you can better interact in the session tomorrow. And I will be guiding you in the session tomorrow about the probabilities about which type of a reporting question is more likely in March 2019 exams, because um, we have seen going concern reporting came in December 18. So I might be illogical spending time on going concern reporting when a complete question on going concern reporting came in the December 18 exams. So I need to see what came in December 18 in like a full question, and I need to skip that and see what can come in the March 19 exams. So I should better utilize my next 3 weeks in terms of how things can unfold in March 2019 exams, right? And tomorrow, once I complete reporting, I will keep the last 15 or 20 minutes just to give you a strategy for March 2019 exams. So, what should be the right strategy to appear for March 2019 exams, what you should be doing and what you should not be doing. So, particularly the last 15-20 minutes of my session tomorrow will be really informative for all of you. So, I would encourage all of you to participate in the live session tomorrow, because apart from reporting, we will be discussing many tips tomorrow and many suggestions tomorrow for March 2019 exams, right? So and the last thing is that during my live session, it's very difficult to answer your questions. So please ensure that any question which you think you raised but was not answered, you can just drop that question on the WhatsApp group, and I will be responding to your questions on the WhatsApp group. So I hope you have taken that housekeeping instruction since the day 1 to the day 3. Okay. Right. So with that, I'm coming to the end of my session today, and I'll be meeting you live tomorrow for the fourth and the final day, which is all about reporting tomorrow. I'll be skipping other assignments this time because I've covered other assignments in my last webinar. So any one of you who wants to get hold of other assignments, you still have, it is recommended that you do the December 18 webinar, because in the December 18 webinar, I did other assignments. So if you want to do other assignments and you think where should I go to do other assignments, the better source is go to the Vimeo, take on the December 18 webinar, and do the other assignments from the December 18 webinar, right? And I'm there on the WhatsApp group to help you out with any of your concerns and query, right? Okay, it's then time to say you goodbye from the day 3 of this Practice to Pass webinar for March 2019 exams being organized by ACCA Pakistan. And I'll be seeing you live tomorrow on the fourth and the final day of this Practice to Pass session. Have a nice day and have an effective study for your March 2019 exams. Stay safe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye and Allah Hafiz.